Caps head coach Barry Trotz in. Bino Ranson from the Terps in. We've had some NBA conversation, even some baseball work stoppage conversation, which I thought I'd never have after 1994 again. But it is a Ravens week. The first place Baltimore Ravens hosting the Fish on Sunday. I'm hoping for an old-fashioned Shula fish fry from my sack pack days as a Colts fan back in the 70s. She covers all things Ravens out in the castle and does late for work at BaltimoreRavens.com. You can follow her journey, podcast, Ravens fandom, and all of that at SG Ellison out on Twitter as well. We welcome Sarah Ellison, one of our defending champions, back to the program. What's going on, Sarah? Have I not been glib enough to make late for work lately? I need to start to be a little more cantankerous here during the holidays.
Nestor, I don't see you that much. You say you're going to write more. I see a lot of Luke stuff, but I don't see a lot from you.
See, you're beating me up now. I was on the road for 10 days chasing NBA teams with the dude that saved my wife's life, so I've got excuses, but no more excuses now that we're in an honest-to-God foot race here with the Steelers for the division lead. This is a huge game, obviously, and the one thing I've talked so much about here in the past 8 weeks, quite frankly, has been the Ravens with bunches of guys hurt and the Ravens with bunches of guys healthy. The team's trending healthier, and therefore I like being in the foot race right now with Suggs, with one shoulder of Yanda on the left side, with Steve Smith in the lineup making a difference. I like us healthier. I like us more with Elvis Dumerville, right?
Oh, there's no question in my mind that with the way the Ravens play their games, which is always close, it's like, other than that Browns game this year, they're always close. And there's such a thin margin for error in this league that when you lose a Steve Smith or a Terrell Suggs or Yanda or Dumerville here and there, it's enough to take you on the losing side of that margin of error. And then you've seen, and this extends back to last year, when these guys come back, then all of a sudden they're not winning huge, but they are winning. And so, and then now that, like you said, they're turning healthy, once you start getting them healthy for multiple games, then I think maybe you can start seeing them win at least over other 500 teams by more than, 3 points or one score. So there's no question it makes a difference. It doesn't make them an explosive team, but it makes them a winning team.
I didn't bug Flacco after the game on Sunday. I was kind of running around doing my own thing. We've had some live shows this week, next week. But when I do bug him, and I will bug him, I would say, is that damn thing on your leg designed to protect your leg or break it? I watching him slide, it hurts me, Sarah. It makes me cringe.
It's scary. But let me say this because a lot of people, obviously the slide has become a huge topic. I always, before the knee brace, I've actually always admired his slide. The pop-up slide that he talks about. I always thought he did it nice and smooth, and I was like, yeah, you can tell that he was a baseball player.
And a good baseball player from everything I understand. He played a lot of baseball.
Yeah, he had a brother that was in the pros, had a little stint with the Orioles there. It's in the blood. So obviously, it's tough. When you have a habit, it's tough to break a habit. And, when he was against the Browns, he remembered to jump high enough to land on his glutes. That's what Hardball wants him to do. And then I think with somebody chasing him down against Cincinnati, he just went back to an old habit of sliding on his lower shin and his knee. But yeah, he's got to remember, because that's scary. When you mangle a metal knee brace like that, that's kind of scary. You don't want to play games with that knee. You do not want Joe Flacco out. So he's got to learn to jump up and get on his glutes instead of that shin and knee.
Yeah, man. If that was like the Russian judges give that like a 0.2 or something, right? You don't want to be judged on that. Sarah Ellison joining us here from Ravens.com as well as late for work, as always. So I've talked to so many people from Miami this week. This is an interesting time to be playing them because of the level of confidence that they have. And you mentioned getting healthy. They're not as healthy as they'd like to be, but the offensive line is trending in the right direction. And more than that, you're facing a quarterback that's getting a lot of confidence for the first time in his career.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide if this is a bad time to be catching the Dolphins or a good time.
They're due to lose, right?
They're
Exactly.
due to lose, and a 6-game winning streak, and so they're due to lose, but maybe they weren't so great in the beginning of the year when they started 1-4. But it's kind of like I look at the Dolphins a little bit like I would assume most of the league looks at the Ravens, that they're good, but how good are they? Are they as good as their recent winning streak suggests? Because I go back and I look at the teams that they've beaten, and listen, wins are wins, but it's not like they're beating.
Yeah, I wish we would have beaten the Jets. They did.
Yeah, exactly. They beat the Jets. They beat the Jets. They won the games that you'd say in Baltimore the Ravens should have won, and so it's interesting. I think this is going to be it's just a very even matchup in my mind. Where it's not like, okay, well, you're just playing Dallas, and clearly Dallas are the favorites, or you're playing the Browns, and the Ravens are clearly the favorites. This is pretty evenly matched, and so I'm interested to see how the Ravens come out. But they do have home field advantage, so you expect the Ravens to pull out a win. They need it.
We don't talk about Marshal Yanda much around here, and, that's what you get when you're the big sloppies up on the front line, and, you get the big contract, you go to the Pro Bowl quietly every year, then you start to play games without Marshal Yanda. Then you see that Marshal Yanda moves from the right to the left side for the team, and you talk to him, and Marshall doesn't love talking to the media. He's good at it when he talks, but he doesn't talk much. I'm working on getting him out for a swabbing later on in the month to talk to him more at length about his career, because I had him out at the beginning of his career. But what he's doing, what Suggs is doing, especially guys that have all the money in the world, they've already won championships, they've already gone to Pro Bowls, and whatever hall of very good they'll be judged at whatever point. But they're really putting the courageous hat on here this year. Suggs is out there playing with one arm, Yanda's playing with one shoulder in a different position. I think he looks really challenged and engaged by trying to do it on the other side of the line. He's been very good the last 2 weeks. I mean, better than what we've seen when he's not in there for sure. But this offensive line, this is really a great story about Marshal Yanda here late in his career and what he's doing.
I have so much respect for that guy. It is unbelievable, because you do, and you can't fault anybody. Like you look at a guy, say like Calvin Johnson, who probably had so many years ahead of him. And he's like, you know what? I just want to say goodbye. I've made my money, and I'm worried about my quality of life. And you don't fault the guy at all for it. But then you come over to a guy like Yanda, and you know that dude has a love for football, and he cares about his team. He cares about his teammates. Just the respect he has for that. He's got one shoulder. It's like it's hanging off of him. And then he goes, hey, Coach, how about, Alex Lewis went down. How would I go give that a try? I've got one good arm left. Let me see what I can do with it. And let me tell you, man, just imagine, the last 2 games, Flacco has said especially last week, he felt so comfortable. And for the first time since week 3, they had the same starting lineup in back-to-back weeks. I mean, if he wasn't there, what would this offensive line look like? Would the Ravens have won 2 of the last 3? It's phenomenal what he's done. I have so much respect for it. It cannot be overstated. I think it has a huge impact on the offense overall, especially Joe Flacco. And then you mentioned Terrell Suggs. I feel like, he knows he's in his twilight years. He lost all of last year. He doesn't take it for granted. He does not, want to let football go. He loves it too. These guys, when you talk about play like a Raven, sometimes it's a cliche and you're like, okay, people just say it. But if you're Coach Hardball and you're trying to teach younger players what that means, what better examples do you have than these 2 guys on each side of the ball?
I know you are working behind the scenes on a massive piece on the Hardball family, and I guess in my mind, I'm working on a massive piece in the Hardball family every day too, and watching Jim run around out there on Saturday in the Ohio State game and all that. And I think Jack Hardball joined me and my wife on our tour in Milwaukee for our baseball game last summer, and I knew Jimmy when he was quarterback in the team number 4 and captain comeback and all that. And now almost a decade with John here. I know you've and the Super Bowl and the championships and what it all represents, and their family, such a football Midwestern family. There's plenty of meat hanging on the bone to write and talk to other people about the Hardballs, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I cannot tell you. I mean, I started this. The idea came up before the season, but I finally just finished up my interviews. You have these two brothers who made history in the Super Bowl. It's really one of the classic Super Bowl games. The way that finished, it was two brothers that played against or coached against each other. It had never happened before. I don't know that it'll ever happen again. As amazing as that Super Bowl was, I feel, in my last few months of researching and talking to people, you truly cannot appreciate it as much as you could if you knew who this family was, where this family came from, who they are, how Jim and John came to be. I've talked to the entire Hardball family, Jim, Jack, Joni, Jackie. I just got Jim 2 weeks ago, and now I feel bad because he's lost 2 games since.
He'll never speak to you again,
He'll never speak to me again.
Yeah, he's as superstitious as they come, I think, right?
Yeah, just about. But I got to tell you, he was great to me. I've talked to Steve Bisciotti. I've talked to Ozzie Newsome. I've talked to players. I've talked to Jim Hackett, who hired Jim up in Michigan. I mean, this family is incredible. I cannot wait. I mean, it's just a mountain that I'm getting through. I cannot wait till I can bring it to Ravens fans months down the line. It's a massive project, and it'll be a fun podcast, though.
I had a couple of people from Detroit on this week. I had Chris Burke on from Sports Illustrated. He said it'll be no time before Jim's on the sidelines with John, and certainly, as they prepare for whatever bowl game they're going to, I have a feeling we'll see that in the same way we saw Jack with Jim at the Cubs games there and all the Michigan gear. So, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I've obviously when I talked to Jim, and I asked him, we coach together, and all of a sudden my mind starts dreaming, how awesome would it be if the Ravens had, and both John and Jim say they'll work underneath the other can be the head coach, but how amazing would it be if you had John Harbaugh as the head coach of the Ravens and Jim Harbaugh as the offensive coordinator? You got Dean Pease as a defensive coordinator. I mean, that's just a big dream, but one day I would love to see it happen, those two combined forces, and then and all of a sudden my mind starts dreaming, how awesome would it be if the Ravens had, and both John and Jim say they'll work underneath the other can be the head coach, but how amazing would it be if you had John Harbaugh as the head coach of the Ravens and Jim Harbaugh as the offensive coordinator? You got Dean Pease as a defensive coordinator. I mean, that's just a big dream, but one day I would love to see it happen, those two combined forces, and then let's see what those two can do. And
I don't think Steve has enough money to hire Jim, quite frankly. Jim's expensive.
I got a lot from Bisciotti on Jim. I don't want to give it away, but he talked about what it would be like to work with Jim, too.
Hey, great to visit with you, as always. We're reading late for work and following your work out at BaltimoreRavens.com as well as that on Twitter. Sarah, always a fun visit with you.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Nestor.
You got it. Sarah Ellison. She is SG Ellison. That's 2 L's in the Ellison, out on Twitter. Faith Family Football editor and writer for Ravens.com. And you can follow her work out at Late for Work each and every morning out at BaltimoreRavens.com. You can find me in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. Our morning newspaper ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. every morning. That's brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Work off that eggnog and the turkey. Got my first batch of eggnog on Monday. I'm a happy pappy throwing that in the old Royal Farms coffee. You better believe it. Tech service, yes. Breaking news. Jimmy Smith, whatever's going to happen this week, whoever's going to make it to the field, you'll get it first on the WNST Tech service. It is our best service. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And Dennis Colatzos will be here with us every Thursday, driving you home 3 to 5. It is the SSV on WNST. I'm Nestor. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me because I am a very available individual. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and streaming live on our Facebook and YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.